Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerd Central. I'm your host Devin stepping in for Chan and Clement for a second week. We have our next installments of Dragon Corner, Heart of the Cards, Look Back, and Dead on Arrival. Plus we battle to see what is the best Edgar Wright film. But first, let's talk about the news of the week. Fox is changing up their film schedule for 2018 and the beginning of 2019. Alita Battle Angel has been moved from December 21st to February 14th. This was originally the release date of Dark Phoenix, but Fox has moved that film to June 7th. This move came one day after Fox released a trailer for the film with the end title card showing February 14th as its release date. This confusion has not helped improve public opinion of the film. Since announcing the films, Fox has moved Alita Battle Angel and Dark Phoenix twice. Let's hope this move will be their last. The big reason for all of these moves was to make room for a new Deadpool movie. Before you start wondering if this is the third installment in the franchise, we are here to tell you that it is not. Fox has announced that this Deadpool movie will be a PG-13 rated version of Deadpool 2, titled The Deadpool Before Christmas. There has been much speculation as to what this PG-13 Deadpool will have in it, but Ryan Reynolds tweeted out a picture of Deadpool reading a story to Fred Savage. If this scene seems familiar, it's a direct reference to The Princess Bride, with Savage wearing the exact same clothes that he wore all those years ago. This film might use scenes with Deadpool describing the more adult scenes of the film to Savage to keep the PG-13 rating. We'll just have to wait and see. Now let's take it to the next installments of Dragon Corner and Heart of the Cards.
Hello and welcome back to Dragon Corner. We've been throwing around the term God a lot lately, so I thought we should take a moment to talk about the greater powers at play in the Dragon Ball universe. Although there are a few different God allegories in Dragon Ball, no one fits the title better than the Gods of Creation, or Kais, and the Gods of Destruction. Each of Dragon Ball's 12 currently existing universes has an afterlife, usually referred to as Otherworld. Each Otherworld contains a heaven and a hell for each planet, and where you go is dictated by the planet you die on. Good people's souls go to heaven, which functions similarly to Greek mythology's fields of Asphodel. Bad people go to the planet's corresponding hell, where they are tortured appropriately. There is a third option for righteous individuals on Earth, which entitles you to keep your body in the afterlife and live in the sacred realm of the Kais. Kais are agents of creation and stewardship, in charge of creating new worlds and tending them so life in their respective universe can flourish. The Kais are selected from a divine race known as Core People, who are born of the magical fruit of giant trees. When a Kai dies, the remaining 80 or so Core People draw lots to see who will take their place. Additionally, there are Core People born of special golden fruits that designate them as Supreme Kais, although this position is sometimes given as a promotion to deserving Kais. Universe 7's Supreme Kais were killed by the monster Majin Buu over 5 million years ago, so only the Eastern Supreme Kai Shin remains. Due to being poorly prepared for his role before his superiors were wiped out, Universe 7 has only 28 planets that support life, and its mortal level, the standard for evaluating the average development of a universe, is the second lowest. Gods of Destruction, conversely, are tasked with the judgment and erasure of planets. For after all, there can be no creation without first destruction. Every rose bush needs pruned. Some gods of destruction run from maliciously enthusiastic about their job to callously apathetic, to actually really nice and reluctant to destroy. Universe 7's god of destruction is Beerus, whom you'll remember is indirectly responsible for the destruction of Goku's home planet and for Goku's introduction to God Ki, which is a different kind of energy described as divine in nature and completely unsensible. Gods of destruction are attended by angels like Universe 7's Whis, who wait on them hand and foot, but also keep them in line. The angels actually have more power than the gods, and they answer to their father, the Grand Priest. The Grand Priest serves the highest deity presented in Dragon Ball so far, Grand Zeno. Zeno is the overseer of the entire multiverse, although he is never explicitly named as its creator. His total innocence is underlined by his childish nature, which sometimes causes him to act on whims, like when he became angry after losing a game of hide-and-seek to Beerus and destroyed universes 13 through 16. Zamasu, the Supreme Kai in training of Universe 10, demonstrated that gods are affected by the flow of time during his Zero Mortal plan. Most evil core people are sent to the demon realm to live separately from the realm of the Kais, but Zamasu managed to conceal his contempt for mortal life and gain access to a time ring. Using the ring, he met himself from an alternate timeline. The two made separate wishes to become immortal and steal Goku's body respectively. When Super Saiyan God is surpassed by a deity as opposed to a mortal, it becomes Super Saiyan Rose, the inverse of blue. Goku even introduced Zeno to one of his future selves, and of course, they're best friends. The Kai seem to be all about the jewelry because it's not just their rings that hold special powers. But I'll let a future version of me tell you about that on the next Dragon Corner.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Central's Heart of the Cards with your host Bradley Justice. I will be taking a deep dive into the anime juggernaut that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Or what I like to call the Friendship Show.
He almost lost a zillion times, but he never gave up. Serenity, I'm through running away. I'm not afraid anymore. I know I can face anything, as long as I have friends like you. That's right. And then, who knows, maybe someday I could become a top-ranked duelist just like your brother. Then all my friends can come and cheer me on.
Season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Starts immediately after Season 2, but it takes a wild turn. With only Kaiba, Yugi, Joey, and Merrick left in the tournament, the crew is heading towards the final spot of the semi-final duel at Kaiba's new island. But everything comes to a halt when the blimp starts to get pulled down into the water due to a hacker named Noah. Noah, with the help of Kaiba's old employees nicknamed the Big Five, trapped the gang in cyberspace and forced them to duel for their freedom, triggering the Noah cyberspace arc. The start of this season is all about showing us about Kaiba's past. The day he was adopted and he was able to convince this super billionaire named Gozaburo into adopting him and his little brother Mokuba. Then through a series of flashback and cyberspace scenes, we learn how Kaiba was able to take over his stepfather's company. We then quickly learn that Noah was actually Gozaburo's real son that had an accident and he sealed his mind in cyberspace trying to save him. That means Noah is Kaiba and Mokuba's long-lost stepbrother. While the crew is in cyberspace, Merrick is getting impatient and decides to search the base looking for Yugi and his friends and ends up destroying it, forcing Noah to help the crew escape and ending the cyberspace saga. This season is weird. It starts after the quarterfinal duels and then goes on a 24-episode hiatus for the Noah arc. Then, with almost no flashbacks at all or even recalling they were ever in cyberspace, they continue the semifinal duels at the Battle City tournament, pitting Joey versus Merrick and Kaiba versus Yugi. Winner gets the spot in the finals. And as expected, the main protagonist Yugi wins his duel against Kaiba, and the main antagonist Merrick wins his duel against Joey, but barely. The season ends with Merrick, who only has one life point left, forfeiting the duel to Yami Yugi and making him the Battle City champion. Season 3 was strange, and honestly, I didn't like the cyberspace arc at all. I almost always skip it when rewatching the series because I just didn't like the random interruption between the quarterfinals and the semifinals. And to make it about Kaiba and his backstory? Lame. He's not the main character, and so I don't have any interest knowing about his past. But the Battle City semifinals and final duels? Oh, they were great. Every duel was so long and not a single bit of downtime in any of them. It almost made sitting through the Noah arc worth it. Tune in next week as I explain why Season 4 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters is my favorite of the series. This has been Bradley Justice with Heart of the Cards.
Welcome back to Nerd Central, and you just watched Dragon Corner and Heart of the Cards. We have some unfortunate news to report. Two actors of two different shows will be ending their runs on their respective shows. Damon Wayans has announced that he will call it quits after the third season of Fox's Lethal Weapon. Wayans plays Murtagh, a character made famous by Danny Glover. The reason for Wayans' departure was the long shooting days, stating that he had to work 16 hours a day on the show. As for the other actor leaving their show, Chelsea Peretti is leaving Brooklyn Nine-Nine. However, Peretti is just exiting as a series regular, which leaves the door open for her to return as a guest star. As of this taping, no news on why Peretti has decided to leave, but we here at Nerd Central would like to wish both Wayans and Peretti well on whatever they do next. Now let's head into the next installments of Look Back and Dead on Arrival. Take it away, guys.
Hello, and welcome to Look Back, a retrospective on shows that I used to love, the shows that I love in the present day. I'm Mikey, and let's look back at the average kid who no one understands. This is The Fairly Odd Parents. A classic of the mid-2000s, The Fairly Odd Parents focuses on a pink-hatted boy named Timmy Turner and his exploits with his fairy godparents, Cosmo and Wanda. Now, while having these fairy godparents, Timmy has to have a lot of responsibility. And he does have some. And sometimes he just wants to have fun, which leads to many conflicts throughout the series. Now, as with any cartoon, the list of characters is indefinite, but there are a few major ones, such as the friends, AJ and Chester, the love interest, Trixie, the crazy man, Denzel Crocker, and so many more I don't have time to list. But what I can say is that these characters are what made the show grow and fall. In my opinion, The Fairly Odd Parents has 4 generations. Pre-Baby the Good, Child the Awesome, Dog the Mediocre, and Chloe the Awful. I don't have much time, but let's do one sentence for each. Pre-Baby the Good was the early series, before Poof was in the show. The show was already funny, and had a good number of staple episodes. Child the Awesome is after Poof was born from Cosmo. Yeah, don't ask about that. But the show really hit its stride, and my favorite episodes are from this generation. In Dog the Mediocre, Sparky came in, and while I had not really watched anymore, I watched a few episodes and I was not impressed. But that had nothing on Chloe the Awful. For some reason that is beyond me, they had to bring a second protagonist into the show, and Chloe is just no Timmy Turner. While Timmy was still there, he had to share the spotlight, and it just did not work. Along from the TV show, there were also TV specials, which were amazing, such as Channel Chasers or Fairly Odd Baby. What were not amazing were the movies, which for reasons beyond me, were in live action. I mean, at least the fairies were in CGI, but still, the movies were horrendous. As for video games and toys, there was many made for this TV series, but I never really got into it, so I didn't really have much. I wasn't a big fan of the show. I mean, I liked the show and all that, but it wasn't on the top of my list by any means. But as I mentioned last week, I do love Jimmy Neutron, and they had a humongous crossover, which I'll get into, I don't know, next week. Keep watching Nerd Central.
Alright, you filthy wankers. I'm Cody Nance, and this week we're going to try and figure out why NBC exorcised Constantine from their bloody network. Now let's take you back to a simpler time. Here we are. 2014, the Arrowverse is just beginning with Flash doing very well for itself. NBC thought they'd get in on the action by adapting a DC property for themselves. John Constantine. No, not the Keanu Reeves movie. Now, I would never bash Keanu, but the first great thing about this show is his replacement, Matt Ryan. No, not the quarterback. While the Reeves version was a good character in his own right, this version is actually blonde and British, like his comic book counterpart. The show works similar to The Flash or Arrow, by having a different demon every week that Constantine must defeat. But there's also the overarching part of the story, where Constantine accidentally sent a little girl to hell, therefore damning himself. Constantine is desperately trying to prolong his life and do enough good to save his soul from hell. And of course, he constantly sees visions of the little girl for good measure. The show is perfectly toned. Constantine doesn't actually want to do these jobs, but he's desperate enough to take them, even though deep down he knows it's not gonna help him get out of hell. His snarky humor brings some good comedy to the show, as he's constantly arguing with his literal guardian angel about the best way to stay out of hell. Why would this show be cancelled? Who would do such a thing to us? Well, NBC assigned it the death slot. New episodes of Constantine premiered at 9 o'clock on Friday nights during high school football season, so nobody was ever actually home to watch it. We do have some silver lining though, as the character has appeared in multiple episodes of Arrow, and is said to be a regular on this coming season of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. From Dead on Arrival on Nerd Central, this is Cody Nat saying, "You're pretty ugly for an angel."
Thanks, guys. A bit more news for you in the realm of streaming services. Netflix is bringing back the Chronicles of Narnia. The streaming service has announced a television series and films in the land of Narnia. This is not the first time Hollywood has tried bringing Narnia to the screen. Disney released The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian in 2005 and 2008 respectively, with Fox releasing Voyage of the Dawn Treader in 2010. No news on when production will begin or any casting announcements, but we will be sure to let you know if anything comes up. Another streaming service has announced the title of one of its new shows. Lucasfilm announced the title of Jon Favreau's live-action Star Wars television series. It will be called The Mandalorian. They also announced some of the directors for the episodes, with Taika Waititi, the director of Thor Ragnarok, and Bryce Dallas Howard, Claire Dearing in the Jurassic World films, and daughter of Solo, a Star Wars story director Ron Howard, being some of the biggest names on that list. Dave Filoni, the man behind The Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance, will be making his live-action directorial debut when he directs the first episode of the series. The Mandalorian will take place after the fall of the Empire, but before the First Order came to power. The show will follow a lone Mandalorian in the Outer Rim attempting to evade the New Republic. This series marks the first live-action television series in the Star Wars galaxy. Let's hope they start off on the right foot. Along with the first details of the show, Lucasfilm released the first image. Production has just begun, so don't expect an announcement on when the episodes will drop anytime soon, but when they do announce a date, we will pass all of that information off to you. That's going to do it for this week's Nerd Central. Nerd Showdown is next. You can get caught up on all the previous episodes on the KNWT YouTube page. Also, follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and follow Nerd Central on Twitter at nerd_central_TV. The battle to see which is the best Edgar Wright film will commence after the break. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Nerd Showdown, the part of Nerd Central where we battle it out on a particular topic we have no business debating. I'm your host, Devin Van Zant, and this week we ask the question, what is the best Edgar Wright film? Defending Baby Driver is our very own Bradley Justice. And defending Shaun of the Dead is story behind the story producer and Nerdmageddon alum, Molly Gardner. Bradley, why don't you start us off? Why is Baby Driver the best Edgar Wright film?
Baby Driver is amazing. It's got so many different kind of characters, so many different kind of like personalities. If we want to get like into the nit pit of it already, I'm going to talk about that every scene is the music, basically, the audio. Like, he wrote this film to the audio, not to the film. Lily James, Deborah in the movie, she played an absolutely amazing like actress in there. You know, great character, great development, everything like that. And she wasn't even mainly supposed to be playing that. It was supposed to be Emma Stone and then Chloe Moretz, and they both couldn't do it. And so like, okay, let's get the next Mamma Mia to do it, and she absolutely killed it. It was absolutely amazing. Whenever Baby goes to get coffee for everybody at the beginning of the film, he it's one continuous shot the whole entire time, and everything that's in the music is happening in the background. And even it's the point where whenever the bass comes in the music, the saxophone like whenever the saxophone comes in the music, it has the word bass in like the coffee or whatever. If I'm not mistaken, he started writing it in 2007, so it's like this was his baby, so that's why, his Baby Driver.
So Shaun of the Dead follows three people around: Shaun, Liz, and Ed. So this was actually Edgar Wright's first film that he did by himself, produced by himself and everything like that. And honestly, it was a hit. It was a blockbuster hit, and it really kind of takes jabs at the zombie apocalypse thing, and it did a really good job because The Walking Dead came after it. It's based off of Dawn of the Dead, which is kind of apparent by the title. And it's hilarious to watch Shaun go about his life trying to figure out how to beat these zombies in a hilarious way. at the beginning of the film, he goes to the store, and all he does is buy some Coke and buy some candy, and there's zombies walking around, and he doesn't even acknowledge it because he's technically dead to the world. Like, he just woke up. He doesn't care, which is how most of us feel when we wake up. And I feel like it was very well portrayed of, like, human zombies walking around. Edgar Wright actually made a cameo in the film, and at the end, you know, it also shows friendship because Ed becomes a zombie and Sean has him locked up in his garden, and it's just cute because they end up playing video games together. So even though his best friend becomes a zombie, there's still a love there, and that's all that matters.
First off, Hot Fuzz was better. Second off, if I'm not mistaken, that movie came out in 2004, and Wright started technically making Baby Driver, or like experimenting with it, in 2002. So, did it really come first? Because I mean, you can even look up the music video.
It released first, for sure.
The music video for he did was the opening scene of Baby Driver in 2002. So he's technically been working on Baby Driver longer and more than Shaun of the Dead.
Why does he go by Baby? I understand that's an alias and he doesn't want to get caught for all of these crimes, but it's a stupid alias. Stupid. When he's driving cars, he doesn't wear gloves or anything. So if the police find the car that they hijacked, they can easily place it back to Baby. Also, when he goes to jail for only 5 years to begin with for hijacking like multiple banks, he should have gotten longer. And Deborah, which we barely know about, like she barely has any lines, she waits for him, which, my opinion, I would not be waiting 5 years for someone who I know is a criminal.
They had Jamie Foxx, and it doesn't get past the fact that Kevin Spacey is a great actor. He's a horrible human being, but he's a great actor. Because even Jamie Foxx, who's, you know, as successful as he is and doesn't need any training, came to the filming, even when his scenes weren't even there, just to learn from Kevin Spacey. Like, Jamie Foxx doesn't have a lot of room to get improved, but he's always trying to. And the ending of the movie, where John Hamm, spoiler alert, where John Hamm just looks at Baby and just goes, you took something from me that I love, I'm gonna take something from you that you love. And I was like, oh, he's gonna die, he's gonna get shot. No, he shoots near his ear and blows out his eardrum because he understands that Baby loves music and loves his hearing so much.
As you can tell, he's very confused about how the zombie apocalypse happened and how to defeat these zombies. He even sings with a zombie later in the movie. Him and Ed sing with a zombie. Like, that's hilarious. And it's a British movie, if you don't know, but it's funny to just watch how they would, because so many people would interact differently with the zombie apocalypse, and seeing how Sean handles everything, he handles it with such class, elegancy, and then he beats the zombie's head apart.
That's gonna do it for this week's Showdown, and the winner is Bradley by a hair.
You know what? It's a long hair, so we're good.
All right. You can head to Nerd Central's Twitter to show your support for this week's Showdown. Nerdmageddon is coming up next. You can catch Story Behind the Story at 6:30 p.m. right here on KNWT Channel 8. See you next week on Nerd Central. And defending Shaun of the Dead is Story Behind the
producer. Story Behind the producer.